name is Barsanti, and I'm CEO and founder of StorageLife. If you want to know about StorageLife, you can visit our website, storagelife.com. We're a group of investors across the country finding, funding, and operating self-storage together. We also teach you how to do it. Today, we are diving in on how to 10x your deal flow, your deal funnel, your leads, right? How to find more deals, basically. And as you guys know, I'm a huge proponent of, and you hear me over and over like a broken record, your ability to find opportunity is the lifeline of your career. Multifamily, single family, we can potentially rely on brokers and wholesalers to find deals for us. However, self-storage is different. It is harder to find these opportunities, these nuggets that are gonna change your career and your life. And therefore, we can't depend solely on brokers and wholesalers. We have to go take the bull by the horns and go find these opportunities ourselves. So the better you become at hunting, the more successful you will be. And if you don't want to be the hunter, then you partner up with one. But again, your ability to find your next opportunity is going to be the lifeline of your career. It's not about worrying about the capital, how you're going to fund the deal, who you're going to partner with, all these other things. Look, you know the basics, you know how to underwrite, you know how to evaluate a deal, right? Get that deal locked up, find that next opportunity, and everything else will fall in place. I mean that. If you have a good deal that you found, you will be able to fund it. There are hundreds of thousands of people chomping at the bit wanting to fund storage. Find the opportunity. You'll have the keys to the castle. Okay, so today we're gonna go over a few different ways to 10x your deal funnel. I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible. Right now, I'm gonna go over 3. You've heard me say it before. We're gonna go over KPIs. That's basically our key performance indicators. It's basically, you need to start tracking data. If you don't track data, you can't go back and you can't figure out what's working and what's not. Why this is extremely important is because think of all you're doing as an investor more like a business, and you're marketing. You're marketing for deals. How many ways are there to get deals? Well, there's some creative ways that maybe I won't mention today, but otherwise, brokers, wholesalers, we've already talked about that. So now we're talking about off market or LoopNet and Crexy, which we know they're very, very, very rare to find a deal there. So the remainder of the ways pretty much revolve around marketing, right? So how many different ways can you market? Well, you can send letters, postcards, texts, emails, if you're under compliance, cold calls, right? There's only a number of ways that you can gather leads, right? Find opportunity. And so you have to start looking at this as marketing. That's all you're doing. You're marketing for clients, right? You're marketing for sellers. You're marketing for opportunity. That's it. So your output equals your leads, right? It's a numbers game. Ultimately, the more your output, the more you're looking, the more you're calling, the more you're mailing, the more opportunity you will find. It's actually that simple. So if you start looking at yourself more as a company and that you're marketing, if you're not tracking your marketing expenses or you're not tracking your marketing results, then how in the heck are you going to know what works and what doesn't? You won't. You're going to really be treating this more like an amateur, and I'm not saying that as a diss. I'm just saying like somebody who hasn't played the game long enough. And so really maybe you're in a mastermind and maybe you're going to ISS and maybe you've learned everything you can about storage, but you're not pounding the pavement looking for leads. Guys, that's the 1%, and that's the 1% that you have to become a part of, right? So once you start tracking KPIs, it's going to come down to, you want to almost work backwards. Like if you want 3 deals in a year, that means you have to be getting a deal under contract roughly every quarter. And if you do that, that means you got to be putting a deal under contract every 30 days or an LOI every 2 weeks. And in order to put an LOI every 2 weeks, you got to be making like 3 verbal offers a week and maybe 1 written offer a week. Whatever that is, you're going to be able to track. And if you are consistent for 3 to 6 months, guess what? You're going to start having a pattern. Patterns are going to rise of like, holy crap, look at what we just did for 3 months. We made 1 offer every day, verbal offer, and we sent at least 1 written offer a week. We did that for 3 months, and look what started to happen. And taking that a step further back, we made 50 calls a week to owners or 50 calls a week to facilities. And when we did that consistently for 3 months, all of a sudden we found that roughly every week we got about 12 owners on the phone. Of those 12 owners, 9 of them wanted too much, 2 of them were not interested, but 1 actually was reasonable. And of that, we made an offer. And then all of a sudden you start creating patterns, and eventually these patterns, they're going to expose the result you want. And that's a lead that turns into a deal, that turns into a closed property in your portfolio. I repeat, this is so extraordinarily important for you and your career. You start taking the whole pursuit extremely seriously. You are a business, no matter if you're just getting started or not. And the more you can act and implement yourself into a routine, the more successful you're going to be. Think about weight training, or imagine just kind of winging it at the gym here and there and and then expecting great results. It's not going to happen. Stick to the plan, stick to the routine. KPIs, okay? Next, we're going to talk about virtual assistants. You know, I'm a huge fan. I actually have a sister company that places self-storage trained turnkey VAs to help you with your acquisitions. Now, wherever you get these virtual assistants, what I found is my offshore employees are extraordinarily important for my team. They have an amazing work ethic. Yes, just like any other job, the screening process can be tricky and maybe take you a while to find really your rock star. But once you do, I found extreme value in people that are willing to work their tails off to help you cold call, build relationships across the country. I'm not going to get too far into virtual assistants, but what I will encourage you to do is once you realize that most of the world is taking advantage of offshore help, you call Amazon, you call all your billing, your utilities, everybody's taking advantage of this. Why are you not? I become friends. They're like family to me, and they're invaluable in our off-market acquisitions pursuit to find more opportunity. We're able to reach out and cast a much wider net, finding sellers, building relationships with people that will eventually strike a deal and sell us their facility. So if you're not utilizing virtual assistants, it is a must in my opinion. If you need help, let me know. I'm happy to help. The third thing is more of a concept, and it's the concept of thinking like a broker. And what I want to emphasize in saying that is I have rockstar broker friends that make up to 300 calls a week. And these brokers have been in the game for longer than 10 years. They're some of the biggest companies. And I'm talking about Marcus and Millichap, Argus, Matthews, the Hope Brothers, right? The biggest self-storage brokerages that we know. These brokers that have already been in the game for over 10 years. They could potentially afford an assistant or two to be making the calls for them. But guess what? They are the ones that are consistently pounding the pavement. Again, some of them are making up to or upwards of 300 calls a week to build relationships and find opportunity. Why? As you guys know, if you're a broker, you are eating what you kill. And really, ironically, in my opinion, it's the same thing as a self-storage investor. If you're not killing, you're not eating, okay? So when I go to ISS and I have these conversations or with my students, my community, and people are discouraged because they're having a hard time finding a deal. We all are. It is the name of the game. Deals are hard. There's deals, guys, that can make you millions of dollars. Not exaggerating. So should they be easy? No, they're not, right? They're not easy, but they're there. They exist, I promise you. So if we know they exist, we have to realize that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. So if I hear you whimpering about that you can't find a deal, I'm going to ask you if you're making 300 calls a week. And if you're not, or you can't, I get it. We all have jobs, several jobs, family, etc., right? So then if you're not, then what do you have to do? You have to then find a way to leverage other people's help so you can essentially compete with a broker, compete with other investors, operators like myself that are pounding the pavement looking for their next deal. So if you don't have the time to make 300 calls a week, and let's be honest, like realistically, most of us don't, you have to find somebody to help you. The more you look, the more consistent you are, the more opportunity you will find. It's not up to anybody else. You are not going to find a deal in a book. You are not going to find a deal on a podcast. You may find a deal at ISS. It's rare, but I actually did. But otherwise, how else? Where are you going to find opportunity? It's you. You have to find it yourself, and you got to work your tail off. You got to pound the pavement. The other thing brokers are doing besides just making 300 calls a week is they're building relationships. They're connecting with sellers on the phone, and it's not in a generic way. It's not, hey, Mr. My name's so-and-so with, StorageLife Realty, and we sell, self-storage, and if you want, $7 million for your deal, just give me a call and Yahoo, right? No, it's sounding legitimate, professional, and it's instilling confidence in this seller that you actually are a great choice and an avenue for them to sell their property successfully at a great price. So as a buyer, your responsibility is to build the exact same rapport with the seller so they, on the phone or in person, are like, you know what? These guys are going to close the deal. I like talking to them. I'm working with you, okay? There's a deal that 4 of my students and myself are involved in right now. We're flying out to St. Louis next week. We've been working on this deal for, I think, at least 9 months. We flew out originally 6 months ago, and we met the seller in person. At that point, we did have it under contract, but this gentleman was basically like, we were like trying to renegotiate because it was so distressed and get him to do seller finance, which we did. But he was like, look, I know you want it for this, but like I'm getting offers all the time and they're much higher than yours. We have it locked up now at 1.25 and he had it on the market at like 2.4 previously. And we're like, look, I'm sorry for the confusion, but your property's not worth this. But more importantly, what happened in that time is we flew out to St. Louis, we met him in person, we took him to breakfast, and at breakfast, he didn't want to eat. He was like, okay, I guess I'll go to breakfast with you, but I'd rather not. He said, you know what? I like you guys. I am not going to talk to anybody else until we strike a deal. And that was it. And we did. And it took us, 8 months. So I can't emphasize enough. You guys got to be real. You got to be honest. You got to be truthful. You got to connect human to human with these sellers, build rapport, think like a broker, track your KPIs, utilize and leverage VAs and others to help you cast a wider net.